She-Hulk, ladies and gentlemen. She-Hulk episode 3. The People versus Emil Blonsky, sweet Jesus. It's your boy Icon with a little Marvel TV, and y'all really gonna make me talk about this bullshit. And by that, I don't mean the episode, because the nature of the episode, the core story of the episode was actually decent. It's the fluff around it that has me pulling my hair out. But we're going to get to that in a second as we begin. So, this particular episode starts where good old Jen, she sees the Abomination in an underground fight club, and she's supposed to represent him and actually get him off of prison, but she can't because he just broke out of prison. During the episode, there's this whole thing where her friend is still here, I don't know why, and people all over the internet, all over the news, all over the world, they're creating narratives for her. They're saying that, you know, she got kicked out of the Avengers and, you know, like she thinks she's better than people and she had the Abomination's baby or whatever. People are coming up with their own narrative, and her friend is telling her, she's like, listen, you gotta take control of this. But then Jen's like, no, because I actually don't care. And just like the rest of us. And she said, I just want to focus on my trial and do my damn thing and move on. So now she goes and talks to the Abomination. And when she talks to him, he lets her know that, listen, I didn't break out of prison. He said that somebody broke me out of prison. They forced me out of prison. But after the person who broke me out of prison, I came back of my own accord because I was trying to do the right thing here, and it's not my fault. So then she was just like, okay, then who broke you out of prison? And we find out it's the Sorcerer Supreme, and I was immediately disappointed. The only two reasons why I'm even reviewing this show is that I wanted to see what the Sorcerer Supreme had to do with the show, and I also wanted to see where Daredevil fit in all this. We've got one out of the two, and I am extremely disappointed now. Come to find out, the Sorcerer Supreme, and he actually showed up for this. He actually cameoed for this. He showed up at Jennifer Walters' law firm because she tried to contact him, I don't know how, and he was just like, oh, I got your message. He basically said he's training to become a better Sorcerer Supreme. He's trying to be a better Sorcerer Supreme, and the only way for him to be a better Sorcerer Supreme is to take on powerful foes. So for some reason, since he couldn't find the Incredible Hulk, for some reason, since he couldn't find literally anyone else, he specifically, coincidentally, just happened to break the Abomination out of prison just so he can turn into the Abomination, he can fight the Abomination, and see where his power lies as a Sorcerer Supreme. He actually did say he offered him freedom somewhere else. He said I was actually going to put him somewhere else where he could be free and not be not be in prison, but he chose to go back to prison. The whole thing about her talking to the camera, it is so irrelevant, it doesn't even bother me. Like, it doesn't even bother me. But she made this unnecessary joke about recurring characters and how the show is still her show, and I'm like, of course it's your show because you're in every scene. The thing with the Sorcerer Supreme, she said something about him supposed to be like coming back, so I don't know if he's gonna make another appearance or if she just meant that he shows up twice in this particular episode. But anyway, after he told her that he was the one that broke him out of prison, Walters basically said, can you swear to that? Can you testify that on the stand so I can get this guy out of here? He agrees to do it. So then she goes down to have the trial. When she goes down to have the trial, the Sorcerer Supreme shows up. He gives his testimony. And matter of fact, a lot of people gave their testimony. Like, all 9 of his soulmates were there. And people in the prison, like prison guards, other prisoners, you know, like psychiatrists, like police officers, correction officers, they actually spoke about how he really was rehabilitated, which probably means by the end of the show, he's going to go back to being a villain. But, you know, they said that, you know, while he was here, he focused on himself. He focused on meditation. He was a counselor to the other prisoners. He helped prison guards. Like, he actually served the community. So then they were just like, yo, he should be let out because he legitimately made a legitimate change in his life. So then, like, the council was just like, okay, but what about him turning into the Abomination? And then that's when the Sorcerer Supreme showed up and said that, yeah, I broke him out of jail just so I could fight him. And they're just like, bro, you know, that's like, you know, breaking out of prison, you know, that's a crime, right? And then he dipped. He did the circle and he dipped. And then one person, and then like the one random white dude, he was just like, oh, but what about him turning into the Abomination? Did we have to worry about that? And then that's when he was just like, all right, look, damn it. He turned into the Abomination in front of everybody, which proved that their meta dampening technology completely blows ass. And Jennifer even said, she was like, look, the fact that he just turned into the Abomination just symbolizes that he could have done this anytime he wanted. He could have transformed anytime he wanted. He could have busted out of prison anytime he wanted. When the Sorcerer Supreme, who just admitted to breaking him out of prison against his own free will, he could have dipped and gone somewhere somewhere else. He chose to come back to prison. He chose to come back here. He chooses to not turn into the abomination because he is a good person and he needs to be let out of jail. So then the council decided to let him out on probation with the condition that he can never turn into the abomination again, and he has to wear an inhibitor chip or something in his skin. That's not going to work, and the abomination will be back before the season's over. We only got 3 episodes left. So now Jennifer is celebrating because she won the case. And after celebrating a job well done, she's at work. She goes into her boss's office, and then when she goes into her boss's office, she sees the other attorney that worked with her at the DA's office, which now brings us to the second portion of the story, which was the portion that I completely hated. It turns out that the douchebag, the one that wanted to do the closing statement and everything, and he was just like, oh, you suck, Walters. He's an overabsorbed, self-centered, egotistical douchebag, and he thinks he's God's gift to women. Because of that, he was dating a shape-shifting Asgardian, because remember, Asgard exists on Earth now. We could have gotten a cameo from anybody in Asgard, but we didn't. So one of their people escaped, which makes perfect sense, because if Asgard exists on Earth now, it makes sense that some of their I was going to call them peasants. It makes sense that, some of the people of Asgard would filter their way into the world. It makes perfect sense. This one particular shapeshifter, she turned herself into Megan Thee Stallion, and she met the lawyer on a dating app. He thought that was the real Megan Thee Stallion, so his dumbass bought her a car worth $175,000, and then when he found out she was a shapeshifter, now he wants to sue and get his money back. And the guy who's defending him, who works at Walter's law firm, we saw him in the first episode, that is Adrian Chase from Arrow. Like, that is Prometheus. It is Adrian Chase. And I was like, wow, dude, you went from being one of the greatest villains of all time to doing this. So anyway, but it's always nice to see Adrian Chase, who was rehabilitated in the season finale of Arrow. Just saying. So he's taken the case of trying to defend this dude. The problem is, everyone, including Walters, they're laughing at this guy because they're like, bro, why would you realistically think, you specifically of all people in the world, why would you realistically think you were actually dating the real Megan Thee Stallion? Why would you legitimately think that? And the judge said, well, it's your job as his lawyer to try to make us believe that in court. The defense was basically saying he knew she was a shapeshifter and just did it anyway. And now that he got his heart broken, now he's trying to act like he ain't know. So, Adrian, I'm going to call him Adrian Chase because I forgot his name on the show. So Adrian Chase, he goes down to the bar where Jennifer is celebrating her victory. And while he's down at the bar, he was talking about his case and how he has to get this guy off. Jennifer was just like, well, good luck getting him off because he's a self-centered, egotistical douchebag. And then that's when Chase was like, yo, would you mind saying that in front of a judge? So then he brings her onto the stand, and he was just like, oh, tell us about your working relationship. Did he ever talk about his dating life? And then she said, yes, he's a self-absorbed, egotistical, male chauvinist douchebag who thinks he's God's gift to women. And she said he's the type of person, because he's so self-centered and because he thinks he's so, he's such a Herculean figure, and because he feels like he's so in high demand, it is 100% accurate that he would legitimately think he's dating the real Megan Thee Stallion. And then after that, the defense rests, and then the judge decided to award in his favor. He got his money back, and the shapeshifter got 60 days in prison because she actually impersonated the judge towards the end of the trial, and that's a no-no. So everything is all good now. Everything is happy. He won his case. She won her case. It's all gravy. Jennifer's walking home now, and then while she's walking home, this is where the show actually gets a little interesting. While she's walking home, 4 people with Asgardian tech roll up on her and try to kick her ass. She forgot that she was a She-Hulk, and then when she remembered, she hulked out and then she whooped all of their asses. And then I guess one of them was trying to get her blood and they couldn't get her blood. And he said that, once she hulks out, it's like there's no way to penetrate through her skin. The 4 of them just drive off with their tails tucked between their legs. And then Jennifer looks at herself as She-Hulk in a car mirror. And then that's how the episode ended, because I guess now she's coming to terms with the whole hero thing. Or maybe whooping some men's asses is actually giving her like a thrill rush, and now she wants to try it. In the 4th episode, she's probably going to take a shot at actually legitimately trying to be a hero. And that's what we have to look forward to. That's how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. So now I'm going to say this. I've been hearing all week long about Megan Thee Stallion appearing on the show. I've been hearing this from people that I know and over again, and this is all anybody kept talking about. First of all, I don't listen to her music. I don't know anything about her other than her name, but for the way people were talking about it, the girl was in the episode for like 13 seconds. She was in court and she just said her name and threw her hand up in ghetto fashion. And then she did a post-credit scene where her and She-Hulk were twerking. Watching She-Hulk twerk was pretty funny, but Megan Thee Stallion, her name was in the episode more than she was. Because the actual person was in like, she wasn't even in a minute's worth of footage. She was barely in this episode for a minute. But the show did a very annoying job of pandering to her and saying her name and giving her a tongue bathing where it's like, okay, we get it. You booked Megan Thee Stallion on the show. But throughout the whole episode, it's like, oh, are you talking about Megan Thee Stallion? The 5-time Grammy Award nominating Best Hip Hop? And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like, really? Like we didn't have to kiss those cheeks that hard. I'm like, it wasn't that serious. And then for them to go that hard at kissing her derriere, when you see her contribution to the actual episode, it's like, y'all made a big deal out of it for that. That was trash. I'm very disappointed. It was stupid. I mean, the whole thing about her getting the Abomination out of prison, I can get with that. That was a decent story. The Sorcerer Supreme was a complete waste. There was no reason for him. Y'all could have got anybody else. Like, that was disappointing. The Sorcerer Supreme cameo in all this was disappointing. You're telling me you're getting the Sorcerer Supreme and his whole purpose is just to say he broke it wasn't even like, oh, I broke the Abomination, like out of prison because I needed his help taking down a powerful dragon or doing something involving saving the world. He was just like, I needed a sparring partner. And since I couldn't find any other Avenger on the planet, I broke this random person out of jail who we have not seen in 14 years. This is trash, y'all. I'm sorry. This is really bad. And like I said, and the Megan thing was stupid. The pandering was stupid. It was bad. Like, it was very bad. And I hate the fact that I had to say that because when you take all the fluff out of it, when you remove all the bullshit that surrounded the episode, the storyline of her actually being a lawyer and doing the lawyer thing was decent. She even went on the news to refute all the things that people say about her. She told everybody, she said what I said, that some random guy said She-Hulk and you morons picked it up. So, so it's like the point of her whole thing when she was like, look, y'all gonna say what y'all want to say anyway, but this is the truth, believe it or not. So I said, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Thank you for tuning in. So I mean, the show's picking up now, I guess, because somebody tried to jack her. We'll find out who tried to jack her in the next episode. And if the Daredevil cameo is just as disappointing as the Sorcerer Supreme cameo, we in a lot of trouble because thank God we only got 6 episodes. So share your thoughts on Twitter and Instagram. I mean, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. Leave your comments on YouTube. What did you think about the episode? Were you overly hyped? Were you deceived by the Megan Thee Stallion cameo? Did you think it was going to be something actually worth it? And then when you saw it, you were like, what the hell was this? Or was it exactly what you thought it would be, which was complete and utter trash? So that was it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I still have hope that the show can be salvaged. It's not the greatest so far, but there are small elements of it that actually are good. And it's, I mean, at the very least, like, content for the channel, and it's worth seeing where it goes, because if this show does not stick the landing and actually turn into something, the season finale review is going to be some shit. So until next time, everybody, for some more She-Hulk action, take care, do your meditation and calm your nerves. And until next time, as always, we're out this bitch!